Guess where? Yes, Monte Carlo, a small principality in the Stirling area. And as usual, all eyes are focused upon him. As his Rob Walker entered Lotus, it's prepared for him to drive against the Porsches and the new 1961 Ferraris, which take their places on the starting grid. As the drivers receive their briefing before the first round of the 1961 World Championship, the Monaco Grand Prix. A briefing by that great driver of an earlier age, Louis Chiron. All round the twisting, turning 1.9-mile circuit, spectators and officials are gathered, eagerly awaiting the start. The start, not just of the first major Grand Prix of the year, but the start of the first race of a new Grand Prix formula, limited to 1.5 litres. And off they go, into the gasworks turn. And out of it, with Ferrari leading from the two Lotus cars of Clark and Moss. Up the hill from Saint Devote, Moss keeps the veteran Lotus well up amongst a field of brand new 1961 models. One lap gone, and 99 to go. It's Ginther on the V6 Ferrari who leads from Jim Clark's Lotus. Stirling Moss is third. Saint Devote in the second lap, and the order is the same. But Moss moves up to second place, as Jim Clark is overdue. But the new and streamlined Lotus tours into the pits. As Brabham takes Casino Bend at the tail end of the field. Surtees on the Yeoman Credit Cooper lies ninth. At 10 laps, the Ferrari still leads, but lap by lap, Moss reduces it by a second or so. And the Porsche holds on to third place. "12 laps, and the order remains unchanged. But now Moss is right on Ginther's tail as they take Casino Square. And the new formula is exciting enough without such artificial aids as oil upon the circuit. As on the 13th lap, Moss goes into the lead. May's Lotus is lapped, and Bonnier races second with the Porsche. And the Ferrari falls back to third as the cars turn right and into the tunnel, then out again into the sunlight. Alongside the harbour, its waters as calm and unruffled, and just as polished as Stirling's driving, as he holds off the mounting challenge of the Ferraris. This indeed is motor racing, and even the chef wants to know what's cooking. Moss goes on his way, but Hill moves his Ferrari up ahead of Bonnier on the 26th lap as they go through Station Corner. And on, downhill to the seafront, their exhaust notes bouncing off the walls of Monte Carlo in a blare of glorious sound. Stirling holds a 10-second lead despite the efforts of the far more powerful Ferraris. Even an extra 30 brake horsepower is no substitute for the skill of Moss. As round and round the classic Monaco circuit, he drives the race of his life. Top of Saint Devote. Down to Mirabeau, with the Ferrari as his constant shadow. Stirling demonstrates what happens when an irresistible force of Ferraris meets an immovable object like Moss. But slowly the red Italian machines pull back those vital seconds. And with 55 laps gone, the British Lotus led by a mere 4.5 seconds. Meantime, Moss's cracking pace proved too hot for many. Surtees goes out after a fine run, as also does Bonnier on the Porsche. And Tony Brooks leaves his BRM by the bus stop. 32 laps to go, and Moss leads by 5 seconds, with the entire Ferrari team in full cry behind him in second, third and fourth places. 31 to go. It's still 5 seconds, and the sparks fly with a vengeance. Past the pits, and Tavoni signals Ginther to take over the attack. And Ginther does that very thing and slams past his teammate in pursuit of Stirling. But Rob Walker has a signal ready, and Moss gets the gem on gear. Porsche leads the pits as McLaren comes in for fuel. But is he driving a front-engine Cooper backwards or a rear-engine one forwards? Are you sure? McLaren and the Cooper are refueled. Well, I still think he drove it backwards. But either way, there's a motor race on, and the Ferrari pit is jubilant as Stirling's lead is whittled away. 17 laps to go. But Stirling counters every attack, and now there's only 10 more laps. Still the Ferraris press the Lotus, but the incomparable Moss motors on. Comment is superfluous. Let's watch the race in sign language. Pit sign language. Stirling still has 4 seconds. Past the Hotel de Paris, down past the tip-top, an apt comment on his driving, station corner and a nonchalant wave to Trintignant, while Brabham's Cooper, amongst others, stand forlornly in the dead car park. Time is running out, and Ginther makes his last despairing challenge. Only 3 seconds now. But Stirling's father isn't worried. And neither is Stirling, who pulls it back to 5 seconds, with only 4 laps to go. Three laps to go. The checkered flag comes out, but for whom? For Stirling, whose skill and courage alone keeps his Lotus ahead of its new and more powerful challenger, or for Richie Ginther, who drives a brilliant race to even stay on the same lap as Stirling. Just 1 lap to go. Let's watch Stirling on this final lap as he drives into our memories with an unforgettable display of virtuosity. The crowds wait to acclaim him, and the flag falls for Stirling Moss to mark his 3rd victory in the Monaco Grand Prix, a feat no other driver has accomplished. Crowds surround him. Louis Chiron embraces him, but keeps a firm grip on the trophy. Ginther has a well-earned drink, and while Stirling goes off on his lap of honour, Chiron goes off with his trophy for next year's race. But it can be no finer than this one in 1961, when Moss, against all the odds, drove one of his greatest races, perhaps his greatest. 50,000 monoguests would say yes, but 300,000 Germans at Nürburgring would disagree and say that the Grand Prix of Europe was Stirling's greatest race. The day began with rain, and team managers and tyre technicians were in a quandary as the circuit dried out before the start. Ferrari decided to run on normal tyres, as also did the Porsches. But McLaren settled for rain tyres on the Cooper, and so did Moss on the Lotus. As 0 hour came up, the 26 starters were pushed out to the grid, whose front row comprised Lotus, Porsche, Ferrari and Cooper. And lots of people wonder if they made the right decision over tyres. But it's too late now to change the tyres, even if you have changed your mind. The grid is cleared, the flag is up, and off they go. into the first corner, the south curve. If you want to watch this race, a balloon is by far the best. Back past the pits and into the north curve, the cars head out for the country on the 14-mile lap, which rises and falls, twists and turns through 176 corners. The Nürburgring is as long as the Monaco circuit is short, but they share one thing in common. Both are drivers' circuits, and Stirling is out in front as a matter of course. By lap 3, Moss led the two Ferraris by 10 seconds. Lap 6, and Stirling plays Nürburgring a ring of roses with his two Italian playmates, increasing his lead all the time. The pits are busy, and it isn't Porsche's day. It isn't anyone's day, except Stirling's, who despite the drying circuit, still holds off the Ferraris. Reg Parnell and Mrs. Surtees look much happier than Graham Hill, who retired on the first lap, as did Innes Ireland on the second. 3 laps to go, and the Lotus rain tires are dangerously warm, but the rain clouds gather, and Stirling's gamble pays off. And Stirling, with his favourite number 7, wins the Grand Prix of Europe by sheer brilliance in place of brake horsepower. Ferraris are second and third. But no rain can damp the splendour of Stirling Moss's victory. The rest of the field are flagged off. Once more the garlands, the anthems, the applause, and then the price of glory paid in full. Stirling Moss relaxes, deaf with praises and all dazed with flowers. Stirling, we too salute you. We shall remember Nürburgring. And Monaco as well. The World Championship still eludes the man whom many consider to be the finest driver in the world. An irony of fate. But in such defeat lies even greater victory.